Hey, what's going on, card collectors? It's Ken with Ken's Cardboard. And today I'm going to give you a little update on my 1978 Topps project. As you can see in the background, this is what I've picked up previously. Yeah, if you haven't watched the first episode, then you wouldn't have known. But so I have these are all Hall of Famers except for one. Actually, Pete Rose not in the Hall of Fame, but I am working on a project where I am collecting. I originally was only collecting all of the Hall of Famers from this set, and then I decided to collect the All Stars as well because I really love the All Star logo, like here on Jim Palmer, and on George Brett. They put them in different spots, so nice job by Topps back then. So I started picking up some other players that are just all-stars who aren't Hall of Famers. Maybe some of them should be in the Hall of Fame. If you don't know, this 1978 was the first year that I bought a pack of cards. I hadn't collected the set. I only had a stack of cards in my collection, and I hadn't spent any time collecting it. But I ended up watching a lot of these players growing up. Some of them, they were close to their end of their years, but others were just getting started, like Eddie Murray. So let's check out what I picked up since then. And I've been trying to get all of these in grades of at least a 7 or higher. So that's my goal, and I want to get them graded in SGC slabs. Hopefully SGC stays around with the black border slabs, and even though they've been acquired by Collectors Universe. But what I found out is you can't find some of these players in slabs, so I'm having to find them in a ungraded condition. There's a couple like sellers that sell them that way, like Greg Morris Cards on eBay. But I'll send them in for grading and see what I get. If they don't get a 7, then they're gonna not meet the criteria. So we'll keep trying, but it's just a fun process for me. So as I was, hey, let's get back to the card. So first up, we got this Lou Brock card. This card I picked up from a guy who was selling a bunch of other cards. This was really well centered. The corners are a little bit soft, so we'll see what it grades out. But Lou Brock is nearly ending up his career. This is obviously celebrating or recognizes his 1977 season. He played 2 more seasons for the Cardinals. At this time, he had exactly 900 stolen bases. But as you can see on the back of Topps cards, they didn't show stolen bases on there. I guess they didn't think they were important enough to put on the back of a card. So these days, stolen bases are shown. So there's Lou Brock. He'll be sent out for grading eventually. Here's another one that I don't see graded very often. The Lou Brock one I see graded, but it just always seems to go for higher prices. So when I saw that one, I thought I'd take a chance. I think I only paid like $4 for it. Again, this Tony Perez, not graded. Tony Perez, he was a 7-time All-Star. In 1976, you probably think of him as a red, but at the end of '76, he was traded to Montreal Expos with Will McEnany for Woody Fryman and Dale Murray. Not to be confused with Dale Murphy, but yeah, Dale Murray. So Perez, he was a 7-time All-Star, as I said, but he made it to the Hall of Fame. Great player, and I love this image of him on the Expos. Look at those cool powder blue uniforms. All right, next up, one of the greatest of all time at third base, Mr. Mike Schmidt. This is not my favorite image of him. I like the colors on the card with the pink Phillies and the green border, but they could have taken a better picture of him. So this is an 8. Mike Schmidt, born on September 27th, which is the day before my birthday, which is September 28th. So there's not a lot of great baseball players that were born on my birthday. The player with the highest WAR would be Ryan Zimmerman, and a couple of the active players would be Riley Green and Eddie Rosario. But getting back to Mike Schmidt here, Mike Schmidt was a 3-time MVP, but those were all in the 80s. He was also a 12-time All-Star. He had an 18-year career. By this time, he was cranking out the home runs and RBIs. He was getting in the upper 30s every year. 100 RBIs almost every season except for 75. There he had only 95, but ended up one of the greatest of all time at third base, Mike Schmidt. Let's see, my next player picked up was Mr. Steve Garvey, one of my favorite players to watch. I grew up in Los Angeles area, so Garvey was one of my favorite players. And all of these cards I picked up for like less than $30. Like I think the Schmidt was like, by the time it was shipping and tax, it was close to 30. This one in the 20s. So when they're 8s, a little bit pricier. But Steve Garvey got the All-Star logo up there, so got to collect all the All-Stars. I think this was his like 7th full season so far in the big leagues, and pretty Mr. Steady Eddie, as you know. He holds actually the National League record for most consecutive games played. So I don't know when he actually started that, probably 1975. Then you got 162 games here in 76 and 77. But Steve Garvey was an MVP in 1974. He was a one-time MVP winner, also a 10-time All-Star. But I was looking up his WAR, and it was like his WAR was only 38, and like most Hall of Famers are around 60. So not sure why his WAR is so low, because it seemed to pump out the hits and not so many home runs, but just great ball player. And I think now he's running for office in California right now this year. So we'll see what happens on that. And see what year was he born. He was born in 1948, so he's 74 years old. Hope he'll be 74. Alrighty then. This other cat here, another All-Star, did not make the Hall of Fame. Saw this one on the bay and had to pick that one up too. There's a little stain up there, but otherwise the card's just like gem mint. All-Star, obviously, George Foster. 1977 season was his MVP. Was the season he won the MVP in the National League. 77, George became only the 5th man in NL history to hit 50 home runs. So that was a stellar season. 52 home runs, 149 RBIs. He's a 5-time All-Star as well. Ended up with 348 career home runs and 1,239 RBIs, but didn't quite cut it for the Hall of Fame, I guess. Maybe today's dates, he would make the Hall of Fame. I don't know. He had a great career. So adding George Foster to the collection. This kid right here, also known as the Kid, is in the Hall of Fame. Gary Carter. This is an awesome image. Again, we've got the Expos and the powder blue unis there. Love those. Gary Carter never was an MVP, but probably one of the greatest catchers of all time. I think it was 11-time All-Star, 10 of those in a row from like 1980 on until like 1990. So he was perennial All-Star. Ended up with 324 home runs, 2,092 hits, 1,225 RBI. So his numbers were similar to George Foster's, but he played at catcher, so a little bit better career, I guess. But loved adding Gary Carter into my collection. Next up, we got Lou Piniella. So this one I couldn't pass up because it was only, I think I won it for like less than $2. Maybe it was $1.99 or something on auction. So it's a little bit off center and it's not as centered as I would have liked it to be, but Lou Piniella, man, what a career this guy had. 18 years in the major leagues. He was Rookie of the Year in 1969. And he was only an all-star one time, but he ended up with 1,705 hits and 102 home runs. So he wasn't the greatest power hitter, but didn't have the greatest average. But after his 18-year major league career history, he went on to manage in baseball, obviously, the Yankees, of course, and then the Reds in 1990. With the Reds, they won the World Series. He also managed the Mariners, the Devil Rays, and the Cubbies. So just thought I'd add this one to the collection too, because I paid less than $6 for this shipped. So pretty cool. And the last one here is strikeout leaders. So I'm picking up all the leaders cards too. 2 Hall of Famers on here: Phil Niekro, Nolan Ryan. Just great. I love the image of Ryan on this one, and Niekro. Look, they're like staring down. They look like they're ready to pitch, but they're probably just staged photos. Look at the strikeouts from Nolan Ryan. 341. Next player almost 100 less. Dennis Leonard. Phil Niekro leading the National League, only at 262. So some great names on here like Frank Tanana, Jim Palmer, Dennis Eckersley, Dave Goltz. Not familiar with him that much. Bert Blyleven, Hall of Famer. Gaylord Perry, Ron Guidry, Vida Blue, J.R. Richard, Steve Rogers, Steve Carlton, Tom Seaver, Jerry Kuzman, Ed Halicki, Rick Russell, Fred Norman, and Bert Hooton for the Dodgers. There you go. There's my update on my 1978 Topps project. I haven't bought any for a while because I'm saving some cash for the National, so maybe I'll find a few of these at the National I don't have. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you have a great weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Shout out to all the veterans out there who have passed during the wars and non-service times that provided the freedoms we have in our country. Thanks, everyone. Peace out.